Welcome back to Media Week. Well, if you're just joining us, we've been hearing from Netflix Chief Content Officer Ted Sarandos after Netflix launched in Australia this week. Here's the second part of James Manning's interview where he asked Ted how he plans to get people to stay on with Netflix after the 30-day trial.
When we come in, there's a bit of a curiosity, and then it's desire. So people doesn't take that long to develop new habits and for people to get involved and get engaged. We're launching at a very fortunate time in that we have such a big rollout of our original series coming. So in April with Daredevil, our first of our Marvel series based on the Defender books, then Grace and Frankie with Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, Sam Waterston, Martin Sheen. Kind of both ends of the spectrum in terms of entertainment, but both really great shows that people are going to really love. Then right away with Sense8, which is the new series from the Wachowskis. It's a big science fiction series. And the season 3 of Orange is the New Black in June. So hopefully there's a lot to look forward to as people come in and try the service and find shows that they haven't seen or that they've been meaning to see and now have the opportunity to watch on their own time.
Just in those few programs you mentioned, you can already see a wide range of demos being attracted to that sort of stuff. Yeah. Is that one of the changes? Has Netflix opened out a little bit? Was it more of an early adopter, a younger people in the initially?
Initially, it starts off, typically when we first started streaming about 8 years ago now, it was almost exclusively an early adopter product, very male, young, lots of disposable income. So the skew of viewing was very different than it is today. With more than 57 million subscribers, you've covered almost every demographic. So you really are trying to find something for everybody, and we'd find that in our original programming, but also in the licensed programming that we do around the world, so that we can fill in demographic. We're not going to chase a show to fill a demographic need, because we could always license a show for that need, while a great show emerges that certain demo will fall in love with.
Yeah. Tell us how television broadcasters, both people in the similar subscription video space or just regular subscription TV or free-to-air broadcasters, have reacted differently to you around the world?
Well, we've come in. Uncertainty is a difficult thing for any incumbent business. So no one knows quite how Netflix plays in the world. And what's played out in the markets where we've been there the longest is that we've become a very important part of the overall ecosystem for filmed entertainment. Our licensing dollars for shows in later windows that air on broadcast networks have become very important to the production of those shows. Globally, we've been buying rights for products around the world, like Gotham, that we did a deal recently where we have everywhere after it airs on the initial network in the local broadcaster, it becomes available on Netflix. All of our original series are all global. But we still buy the lion's share of our content spending goes to licensing shows off networks and from other people who increasingly want to put higher and higher production value on screen, and they can do that using our licensing dollars. And as we've grown to, like I said, over 57 million subscribers, the rest of the ecosystem hasn't collapsed underneath us. It's actually expanded pretty nicely, which I think is true of almost every innovation in the entertainment business has ultimately grown the entertainment business. If you give people a reason to, they'll find more time and they'll find more money to expand their consumption of entertainment.
Yeah, because I was thinking, for all the talk about disruption, you're also part of the existing model that helps fund those free-to-air shows by taking a future window.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about, is this the death of TV and things like that. But there seems to be, at least in the US where you've been for quite a while now, they've still got reasonably good free-to-air TV figures. Subscription TV seems to be thriving as well. Is there room for both of us?
I think so, for sure. I think the key for us, I think, is that we are the product is priced in a way that you don't have to make too many difficult choices to fit it into your entertainment budget or your household budget. So it becomes a really nice additive feature, particularly since we don't chase things like live sports and game shows and competition shows and all that kind of things that people really come to love their television for. And so the ad-supported platforms are really great for that. We lean much more to the professional scripted programming and less into the reality, unscripted sports, the things that are better live, which I think is, in many ways, we're strengthening that for the networks as they lean more into that as their strength. So like in the U.S., NBC just aired a live stage show of Peter Pan.
The figures seem to indicate you've got a pretty big wallet to open up for content in 2015, something like $3 billion. Is that right? Something like 320 hours?
Yeah, about $3 billion. But that's in our total content budget. And then our original programming, about 320 hours of programming.
Yeah. House of Cards, things like that. Will that be exclusive in the markets you have it for? What sort of time frame?
I would look at the current.
Have you got that far yet?
Yeah. I would look to the current and upcoming shows, which you should look at as nearly infinite exclusivity. And then our older shows were more tied to a traditional original models, where they have 4 years to syndication. And then we have a choice to make it 4 years if we want to try to buy out the syndication window as well.
Well, of course, Netflix, the big news of the week. But let's move on to some other news in the media space with James Manning with us in the studio, of course. James, there's been plenty of movement in the digital space this week. We saw the Hoopla website, unfortunately, close down, and at the same time, some other sort of women's websites opening.
Yeah, look, we had Wendy Harmer and Jane Waterhouse, the people who launched the Hoopla, on the show a couple of years ago when they first launched. But look, they put up a paywall, didn't seem to go as well as they'd hoped. They had trouble, I think, getting commercial partners in to the level they would have liked. Deanne Weir, I think you spoke to her just today, didn't you? She was an investor in the company, but she thinks the brand might live on, I think she said.
She says we haven't seen the last of it, so we'll see what happens next for the Hoopla going forward.
Yeah, and those new things. I mean, Rendezvous was a new site, News Corp's just publishing. Mia Friedman's group of online brands have got a new one up there. Debrief Daily, I think it is. So there's plenty of action going on in that space still.
All right, moving on, and SBS and Free TV are having a bit of an argument over allowing SBS to move more minutes into prime time. How's this sort of tracking in terms of the argument?
Yeah, look, Free TV really doesn't want SBS to get some more. They're not getting more time, but they're being able to move their existing time into prime time so they can monetise a little bit better. That's to make up for a funding shortfall. They've had the government's cut back their funding a little bit, so it looks like it'll probably go through. But Free TV really unhappy that they think the effect on SBS is being understated, and they'll actually get a lot more money than they're saying they will.
Now, looking to News Corp, they've lost a sales director and put in a temporary replacement. Who is it?
Yeah, look, Fiorella DeSanto's gone. She joined the company under Kim Williams' management, but she stayed on after Kim left and Julian Clark came in, because she had a relationship with Julian. They used to both work for HWT down in Melbourne, so she stayed on for a couple of years, but she's gone now. They're a bit of a major restructure. Damien Eales is looking after things until they find a replacement for Fiorella.
And NEP's Keith Andrews, he was a guest on our show, obviously, late last year. He's just got a global role for the company. Yeah, look, he's done such a good job here. They take him over Pittsburgh's head office for the global NEP, President and Chief Operating Officer for NEP. So that's a big role for him. Soames Treffery is going to be promoted locally. He'll run the Australian business. All right, let's move on now and take a look at the ratings for week 12. Kicking it off with free to air. And there you have it. Look, once again, My Kitchen Rules. No surprises there. It's not last week's slide. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday taking out the top 4 spots. Yeah, 9 News Sunday there. And turning the page now, and you can see the block making it in there, and ABC, and actually 2 from 10, I should mention. Yeah, 2 from 10 in the top 10. It hasn't happened a lot this year. It didn't happen till hasn't happened since I'm a Celebrity actually launched. OK, let's take a look at the subscription television ratings now for week 12. Of course, a lot of sport in there, selling houses, the sort of usual suspects. Yeah, absolutely. World Cup finishes this week, so we'll see that on the chart for 1 more week. And just turning the page as well, the cricket and Gogglebox still making it in there. Sure, and the Formula 1 shared now by 10 and Fox Sports in the top 10 for both. OK, I want to move on because one of the big stories of the week has been Jeremy Clarkson. It's been in focus whether he'll lose his job or not. It looks like now he has. Yeah, look, the BBC said they're not going to renew his contract. They said they want to keep they really want to keep Top Gear going. There's a few episodes for the most recent series to finish off. They really want to get them to air too. It's a very important earner for BBC worldwide. Sold in virtually any market with the TV industry. They're taking this program, so it's a very important revenue earner. The most watched show on BBC Two in the UK. So yeah. A lot of people didn't think he would go, but the controller of the BBC said, look, we can't really have one rule for some and another for the stars, so yeah. Consistency. All right. And the Nine Network has confirmed that AFR Sunday won't be coming back this year. Yeah, look, actually hasn't been on this year. I think it was last broadcast the end of ratings last year, probably the last Sunday in November. They've said, look, weren't able to really monetise the slot. They used to put it out live, so I was chewed up a few resources on the Sunday morning for the broadcaster, and they're back out of the business speciality broadcasting business. And finally, an award for Journalist of the Year at the Quill Awards. Who won that, and who were some of the other winners as well? Chris Reason, 7 Network journalist.
I guess made really famous the end of last year for his coverage of the siege in Martin Place.
Yes.
You know, he was there on the scene for the whole length of that and did a really good job. The Quill Awards of the Melbourne Press Club, so a lot of the usual suspects. Neil Mitchell from 3AW usually picks up an award for this year. He did that. Adele Ferguson, a business writer for Fairfax, she got an award too. And yeah, so that's their annual awards.
Just finally, we're heading into Easter, and there's some talk that perhaps some of the big shows should be given a rest over the Easter break, and perhaps that opens the door for Netflix.
Yeah, look, it comes up every year, this argument, but it's got a little bit more momentum to it this year because, you know, broadcasters really need to protect their patch now with all the viewing options have just really blossomed, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, a year ago, Presto had just started. There was no Stan. There was no Netflix. There was talk about it might get here eventually, but now there's plenty of options. But look, I think people their routines aren't the same over Easter, so I think the networks need to back off a little bit, but perhaps they could have more speciality programming. But the things like sport, the AFL starts, the NRL's massive through Easter, so there's certainly still plenty to watch.
A lot of news to get through today, but that is unfortunately all we have time for on this edition of Media Week. A big thank you to our co-host, James Manning, editor and publisher of Media Week. From the team here, thanks for your company.